June 7th, 2021, I had a chat with Socrates, the creator, mastermind, and owner-operator of Victoria's own gay bar, the Vicious Poodle. We spoke about the dynamic space that the Vicious Poodle facilitates through staff, patrons, performers, and decor and aesthetics. As well, we chat about the struggles and the rewarding aspects of opening a very social business during the summer of COVID-19.
Hi, Sabine. Thanks for having me. My name is Socrates Diamant. I'm the owner of the Vicious Poodle in Victoria. And of course, we are the gay pub down on Johnson Street. And it's great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me, and so impromptu because, this all started when I was watching one of the Vicious Poodle's Instagram stories, which are always engaging. And I thought, gosh, that event list for June looks really good. We should talk about this. So this happened so wonderfully spontaneously. Perhaps spontaneity is a part of the Vicious Poodle. Do you want to give us a bit of a lowdown on how the poodle happened and what led to the inspiration for it and why it exists?
Sure. I have to start that by boring you a little bit with some facts about myself.
Do it.
I spent a lot of years living in New York City, actually, even though I am Canadian and grew up in Alberta. And I spent a lot of that time running gay bars in Manhattan's Hell's Kitchen district, which is the West 40s. And when I finally moved back to Canada, I was excited to bring all the things that I learned there and apply them here. And I knew I wanted to be on the West Coast, and I looked around a lot, and I have family settled in Victoria now, and everything just sort of rolled here, I think when you're where you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to be doing, things just fall like dominoes for you, and that's kind of how it happened. And so I wanted to do something for the queer community here in Victoria. Of course, when we jumped in, there was nothing really. There was paparazzi, which is a really fun place, but it's a nightclub in a basement. And so it's good on a, late on a Friday night, late on a Saturday night, you want to go and dance and that kind of thing. But BC and the coast in particular is so pub culture, it's what everybody loves and what everybody wants to be. And so I thought, well, why not a queer pub? It just makes sense. And that's sort of how the name came into being. A friend of mine actually came up with it, one of my New York people, and gave me the logo. This idea of sort of a tongue-in-cheek gay take on a traditional pub name. And I just loved how it went over, because the queers get it immediately. And the straight community, they all kind of look at it and they go, oh, there's something kind of funny and interesting there, but I don't quite get what it is. So that was really fun. It took a while to find a space, and I finally did. And here we are. I really wanted to give it more of an urban, cool, slick feel inside, rather than sort of that traditional, eclectic, junky pub look. And I feel like we married those two concepts into what the Vicious Poodle is now.
I have to just say, hands down, the name, the first thing that happened to me is I just got really, really happy, and a smile just went whoof across my face. It's like, yes, oh, this is so good. So perfect. I really appreciate knowing your background and the wonderful influences of New York and a little bit of country with, Alberta coming in and dipping a toe there, right? But you have got some major hella experience going on with this background. So I'm thinking right now, this is like a accumulation of like your most favorite things being in one place with the Vicious Poodle. And I think it's an absolute privilege that Victoria gets to be the home of this right now. So thank you for bringing your creativity and your experience and making this happen. I think there's so many things I could start asking about. Now, I think the first thing I should bring up is I noticed that there were a variety of really cool events that obviously, you mentioned there's not necessarily this focus on like evening. It can be like like an actual bar that you can come to outside of being a nightclub, but there still are really neat events that take place at the Poodle. At least that's what I've seen. Would you like to extrapolate a bit on these events that are a little bit more accessible than strictly evening affairs?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that worked really well in the States was incorporating local artists and entertainment into the business model. And one of the things that we always did down there, which we do here at the Poodle as well, is that there's never a cover charge. I always want, and never really a private event. I always want people to know that they can come down to their local pub. The only reason we would ever, you might not get in is because there's a lineup, and that's because we're full. And we're just waiting for somebody to leave to make room for somebody else. Yeah, that would be the only reason. And so there's so much talent in this little town. I really was worried in the beginning about who was I going to find to come and perform on the stage? Would there be enough people? Would everybody be terrible? And it turns out it's just the opposite. I've got talent coming out my ears, and these people are amazing. They blow me away every single time they come in. They work so hard. They have something new and fantastic that they've created to share with the community. And it's just really remarkable. And then, yes, I know that there's so much more to the community than the party kids at night. Not that we don't love the party kids at night, but a lot of us have jobs and we have to get up in the morning, and we still want a place to go and something to do. And so it makes sense for that happy hour after work crowd to have a place to go, and for shows during the week to be a little bit earlier so that people can come, have some food, have some drinks, see a show, and still get home into bed at a reasonable hour and get up and have a proper day the next day. It's one of the things that inspired us doing a double header for our drag shows on Tuesdays, which we learned pretty early on in the first summer that we were open. And to do a show at 7 o'clock and then another one at 9 or 9:30. And like I say, so that the people who need to work the next day can get in early and have some food and some drinks. And the younger crowd who doesn't need to get up early and wants to booze it up into the night can come and do that as well.
I really love it that there are drag shows on a Tuesday night. I think that goes against everyone's sort of like, how do I say, the way things are thought of in Victoria, right? It's like, oh, that's got to be reserved for a Thursday or a Friday. But, there's a lot of success in going against the grain and saying, hey, there's different folks that are available at different times, and making it always an event is kind of special. Do you want to talk a bit about the different types of shows and different types of artists that have performed so far at the Vicious Poodle?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go back for a sec to what you just mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of times, weekends are packed and booked, right? People always have stuff to do on the weekends. There's always things going on. It's never made sense to me to just add another event on a Friday when Fridays are packed with events. People are looking for things to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so it makes more sense, to really try to promote something on those nights so that people, have a reason to get out of the house. I think that's really important. But the shows that we're doing, so, at this exact moment, we're almost doing none. We've been suffering through this lockdown. November 19th, I believe, was when the health order went through that kiboshed all shows. It has been a long, cold winter.
Very cold and very long.
But again, the performers here are indomitable. So one of the things that they came up with, which I got right behind, was doing pre-recorded shows. And so using all the COVID safety protocols, we would come in here on a Monday afternoon when the space was not open for business yet. And the drag queens would come in and we would film an entire show in the empty restaurant, in the empty pub. And then on Tuesday nights, we would play that show on the big screen. We have a big drop down screen. And the drag queens would come and sit in the little, we call it the aquarium, the little glass enclosure that we had to build for COVID on the stage. They would come and sit in they'll come and sit in the aquarium, and so still be part of the event. And it, it's as close as we could get to making it feel like some live entertainment. But we're hoping that June 15th, that will finally lift. It looks like the vaccine rates and the numbers are going in the right direction. And June 15th is sort of the day everybody has circled in red on their calendar. And we're ready to jump right back into our regular programming. So that's Monday nights is Queer Dog Comedy, hosted by Zane Oak. Very funny trans masked human who is lovely, and all sorts of guests every week. Tuesday night is our big drag show that we call Best in Show. We do a double header at 7 and then another one at 9. We have two sort of house queens here. We have Henrietta Dubé and Vivian Vanderpuss, sort of added to that roster as Honey Do Me more recently. And they generally take turns hosting that Tuesday night with 1 or 2 guests. And so there's always a rotating guest. We want to get as many of the performers through here as we possibly can. Wednesday nights, we do drag bingo. Because who doesn't love bingo?
Right, and then have drag, it just makes it that much better.
So much fun. And of course, that's a rotating bingo caller as well. And then Saturday and Sundays, we do drag brunch. We open at 11, we start shows at noon. They would tend to do a few numbers every half hour or so all the way through brunch. And then as COVID restrictions changed that, we just had to keep adapting.
Yeah.
But hopefully when we return back to normal-ish, it'll be like that again. We'll do brunch from 11 to 3, and there will be performances probably from 12 to 2 or 12 to 2:30. Not really one set show, but the queens hanging around, and then 2 numbers here, and then a little break, and 2 numbers there. And, just really making it kind of a fun, ongoing situation.
Okay, this is great. Okay, so you've already started to get a bit into the COVID, which ties into my questions of like, how has it been going? Because you guys opened up in the middle of the pandemic for starters, and I'm already I'm getting a wonderful tongue-in-cheek inventiveness that goes throughout what the whole process has been with being a business that is basically social based, which is really challenging to open during a pandemic where basically we are required to be distanced from one another. So without me, going on and adding my 2 cents unnecessarily, please, elaborate on ways that, it has been both exciting and fun, but also how it's been going. Like, how did it go that you opened this thing up in the middle of such a weird time? Was it a plan?
Oh, heavily unideal. It takes a long time and a lot of money to put a pub together. And, I looked for a space for a number of years. Downtown Victoria is a particularly tight market, partly because it's expensive, but also the downtown is just not very big. And so there's not a lot of inventory for spaces when you go looking. But all that aside, I found this space in June of 2019. We were committed by August of 2019. We took possession in September of 2019 and began renovations. And, it was a 6-month renovation period. And our projected opening date was April 1st. And indeed, we were on track by the end of February into early March. We were on track for